Hi, James. How are you? I was hoping you could introduce yourself and introduce us to
Yeah, hi.
QLA.
My name is James Hand, and I am the account manager for Quality Lab Accessories Lab Division, or otherwise known as QLA. I am responsible for the sales of preventative maintenance, calibrations, repairs, troubleshooting, and refurbished equipment sales.
Awesome. Somewhat recently, Organomation partnered with QLA to provide service to laboratories who are close to your headquarters. Do you mind talking a little bit about the region that you cover?
QLA's headquarters are located in Telford, Pennsylvania, so conveniently located to Philadelphia, New Jersey, and surrounding states. We can cover everywhere in the US with our team of engineers. We're a third party service provider, so we can really travel anywhere over the US, but we really do focus on customers within driving business.
How would you say working with an external service provider helps improve the overall quality of analytical lab operations?
The experience and time of the engineers would be the most important. Our engineers do this every day. They're all specialists in, say, dissolution or HPLCs and GCs. They know the protocol inside out and they go in, get the job done accurately every time. The problem is with doing it internally, some of these folks may it take longer or they may have people on vacation or what have you. And if there's a problem, they may end up calling us anyway. Then comes the budget question as well. Is it cheaper to outsource or is it cheaper to do in-house? And are you going to get the same guaranteed results? And if you're a contract lab and you're looking at audit reports, how do you know that the quality is there?
To carry that further, how would you say that you're able to ensure a high standard of service? I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the training that your team received.
There's factory training involved with our engineers, and again, experience from being either an end user or an engineer. We hold ourselves to such a high quality where we offer an OEM equivalent service. And some of our engineers actually came from OEMs. We carry that over, but we're fully aware of some of the pricing that you'd see. So you're getting the OEM quality, but you're keeping costs down to a minimum.
That makes sense. I'm not asking you to name names by any means, but are there any specific improvements that you've seen in working with a specific customer that you're especially proud of in terms of the impact that the partnership's
Absolutely.
had?
Dissolution, which QLA is best known for, that's how we started. We also have a machine shop that manufactures dissolution accessories. We've helped some very good customers reduce their costs by up to 40,000. They're running 30 plus dissolution testers. I know for a fact we've saved them about $40,000 a year on PMs and calibrations compared to what the manufacturer would charge them for the equivalent service. We're actually hearing that we offer a better service because of turnaround time, response time, troubleshooting, phone support, if you will.
What are the typical time frames or timelines, I should say, that you're trying to provide in terms of getting to the lab and providing the service that you're
That can
offering?
vary. It depends what the problem is. We're not a big company, so it also depends how busy we are as well. For an on site visit, it's very possible for a dissolution tester, for example, you could have someone the next day. If we're extremely busy, there may be a few days, maybe a week, where you have to wait. Dissolution is very easy for us to fix. If it's HPLC, we only have a couple of our engineers who are trained in that. So you may have to wait a week. But we do know that there's some competitors out there that leave customers hanging for weeks, if not over a month. It depends on the given day. Now, for troubleshooting over the phone, on email, you get an answer that business day or within 24 business hours, if you will, depending on the time.
When a lab is selecting an outside service provider, is there a specific list of criteria you would recommend that they consider when trying to select a service provider? I'm sure the proximity and the cost are big parts
That's
of
always
that.
the leading ones. I always find that the other variables is to see if how much of a good fit we are. Because sometimes there may be a customer who is more in need of next day repair or needs someone on site guaranteed. We're very keen not to overpromise on that. It all depends on what their most important needs are. For some customers, it's about price. For other customers, it's about the quality of support. Either scheduling an appointment, having the expertise, having a qualified engineer who really knows what they're doing and ability to fix it in time and keep them running 24/7. I've met with many customers and I've always been transparent and say, yes, we're a good fit here because A, the price point makes sense, but B, because of our geography, because of our skill set and because of what we offer, we can actually be a really good fit to keep your costs down and keep you running. But there have been labs where we are not big enough as a company to say, yes, we can. Oh, yeah, I don't want to overpromise and say we can do this. I'm very keen about that. We are a growing company and we've been going for lab services about 15 years. We do keep a loyal customer base and we've grown tremendously every year, especially for the last 3 years.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. One thing I noted on your website that I don't have any experience with in terms of our partnership is relocation services. I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about.
So there's some labs that are moving premises, so they may require closeout calibrations before moving the equipment from one room or one building to another. Once the equipment's broken down, we can help move it, give suggestions on how to move it, because some equipment can be sensitive. If there's any gas or plumbing involved, once that's all taken care of, we can come back in, IQ, OQ it, a whole range of equipment, ranging from GCs, HPLCs, dissolution, all the way down to FTIRs, UVs, even ovens as well. We can just make sure that everything's within spec, everything's calibration. It's, in a sense, turnkey, if you will. And again, we provide the accompanying paperwork. So when you do get audited in the lab, you can prove it was done by us and it was done properly. That's my sales pitch right there.
Do you have any formal feedback loop installed in terms of collecting feedback from labs in terms of the service they've received?
To keep our costs down, because we have overheads as well. I generally keep it informal. I try and build a relationship with the customers and I keep and share information accordingly. So if it's a customer that's new, I'm going to follow up and ask for a report, what have you after. The other factor as well is if we go out on call outs for repairs, for example, we would always provide a service sheet. We would give a full report of the problem, the remedy, and action taken.
I know you mentioned earlier that QLA is growing, which is great to hear. Do you find that outside of your operation, do you think there's a general trend towards outsourcing more of this in-house work that would be left to the staff in terms of maintaining the instrumentation?
I can't say I've noticed a trend one way or the other. I've seen both, especially recently. It's kind of a challenging question. We have some customers who were doing calibrations and maintenance internally, but because of, say, turnover of staff or increased costs or because of workload due to incoming projects, they've had no choice but to kind of outsource, and we've been a good fit because we're substantially less expensive than the manufacturers. I also work with labs that do 50-50. So we would do the preventative maintenance, for example, but they would do the calibrations. And we also have some labs that just use us for repairs.
It's definitely a complicated situation. Part of the reason I ask is because there certainly seems to be a lot of consolidation in the environmental lab market. And I suppose as those labs are concentrated under fewer and fewer corporations, there might be more resources involved for sure versus more mom and pop type operations where some of the general resources might be limited in terms of what they're able to really do in terms of being a jack of all trades to maintain all their equipment. But I suppose where that gets complicated again is some of these multinational corporations, they're doing different types of analysis at different locations. So it's not even, in each of our labs, we always do the same work with the same instruments. It's going to be different by location, no matter what the ownership structure looks like.
Yeah, and that brings a really good point because we always strive to be a one-stop shop as much as possible. There's always going to be exclusions to that. There are instruments that we will never be able to perform maintenance on. But if we can help the customer consolidate.
Speaking on behalf of Organomation, we've been thrilled with the interactions that our staff has had with QLA, but also the feedback from end users. And again, somewhat similar to what you mentioned, an informal process for collecting that feedback in terms of asking how the service call or the installation or the training process went. So we've been very happy with the service that you're providing, and we know it's the highest quality lab service out there.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And, the MO, I think, is the same for QLA and Organomation, taking care of the customer, making sure that the equipment that you sell to them is working in prime condition 100% of the time. It's a big emphasis on the beatback business, right? In customer loyalty. If you're not taking care of the customers, and we know some of the competition isn't, so that's where we become a good fit.
Specific to Organomation, we also have a lot of instrumentation out in the field that's been there for decades. So certainly having a local service provider who can provide those repairs. People are thrilled with what they have. They want to keep it in a lot of cases, and keeping the instrument up and running over decades is a challenge in some ways, but it's something that we can certainly make the whole process easier for laboratories in terms of maintaining uptime.
Right. And I think that's appreciated. Having a piece of equipment that lasts 30 years, having that add-on service, like no inconvenience. If there is an issue, instead of sending equipment back, for example, or waiting on parts, what have you, having an engineer come in and taking care of it for you, I think there's a lot of value in that. And again, always comes down to the magic savings, right? Because inconvenience costs money, right?
I really appreciate the overview you provided. What did we miss regarding QLA lab services that you'd like to focus on?
Is a third-party service provider, almost a one-stop shop for many of the equipment on the lab. Our main focus has always been dissolution. So anything involving dissolution apparatus like testers, auto samplers, heater circulators, and also HPLCs and GCs and UPLCs, the likes of Agilent and water systems. A senior HPLC engineer came from a major manufacturer, factory trained, really knows his stuff, very good resource, very well liked, very well respected by the customers. There's good feedback there. People like our prices because they're trying to reduce costs, but they like the fact they're actually sometimes, if not getting an equivalent service, actually getting a better service. Regarding dissolution, all of our engineers came from either OEMs or came from the lab where they were using the equipment for years beforehand. So they're all trained in PMs, calibrations, repairs, and troubleshooting, parts, relocation cells, because we do refurbish HPLCs and dissolution apparatus and resell. Our engineers also know how to do other devices as well. So anything from pipettes to stability chambers to UVs to FTIRs. So there's a whole laundry list of things we can help with. And that's kind of why we were a good fit for Organomation, because we have engineers out in the field.
We really appreciate the partnership, and James, I've enjoyed working with you for a number of years now, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I appreciate it, and long may it continue.